Hello everybody, I hope you had a great holiday season and welcome back to Muggles and Mocha. Now, at the end of last year, like the very end of last year, we finished Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Here it is. I'm kind of sad we're not going to be pulling this book out anymore because I mentioned this when we first started this series, but I got this collection that has like new art that isn't what I grew up with, and so I've really liked looking at the different pictures and stuff like that. So we are leaving the Chamber of Secrets behind and moving on to Prisoner of Azkaban. But before we get started, I wanted to have just a quick little video to break down Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, tell you if some of my thoughts have changed on the book, and let me tell you, they have. This book has always been the last on my list of the Harry Potter books as far as like going in order from my favorite to least favorite. Not because I don't like it, like I've never disliked the second book. I think all the books are pretty great. But as far as, you know, just being my favorite, it never has been. And okay, I have decided that I need to do an official ranking of my favorite Harry Potter books and maybe release that here soon so that then I can tell you if it changes over time, which really stinks because I was wanting to wait to tell you what my favorite Harry Potter book was. But in next week's video, when we cover chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I'll be releasing a list of my most favorite to least favorite Harry Potter book, and then let you know if it changes at the end of the book series, because that'll be fun. Actually, I might just release a video that is the list. Instead of hooking it on to chapter 1, I might just make another video that's just like my rankings. So keep an eye out for that, because soon you'll know what my favorite Harry Potter book is. Because I feel like this list is important. Like, we need to know how our thoughts change throughout the series. So soon you will know my favorite, and I'll tell you where this falls, because I think it might fall somewhere else. I don't know. Stay tuned to see. Before we get started breaking down my thoughts on this latest Harry Potter book, I want to start by welcoming any newcomers that we have today. Hello! If you are new here, I am Madison, this is Muggles and Mocha, and we're going through the entire Harry Potter series one chapter at a time. This book club is connected to my editing website, madisonkdarby.com, and you can check out all that we've covered there or through my social media accounts, which are listed in the description box below. Without further ado, let's talk about our final thoughts on Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. For this time around, I've always liked this book. Like I said, even though it was at the bottom of my list, it doesn't mean I didn't like the book. It just wasn't my favorite. And compared to the rest of the series, I just felt like it wasn't nearly as important. Like, you know, the first book is the first book, and we lay a lot of groundwork for our main character and Hogwarts, and just introducing the cast of characters that we're going to be following, as well as the main problem that they're facing, i.e. Voldemort. And then starting at the third book, I feel like J.K. Rowling just really hits her stride. The third book is fantastic. I've already told you guys I'm really excited to cover that one. Then you have the fourth, where it's just a game changer. Everything changes at the end of that book. And then fifth, sixth, and seventh are just... So like, in the face of all of that, the second book is just like... But because I thought that, it kind of made me belittle the important things that happen in this book. Like, I didn't think as much as some of the major information that we learn in this sequel. And this time around, I really focused on those, and man, like, the groundwork that is laid here is just so significant. To start, the main thing that I liked about this book was Harry's internal struggle. So most of my favorite parts of the book were things that supported that struggle of his that begins. You know, we have him being worried about Slytherin. Did he belong in Slytherin? We have Parcel Tongue, which contributes to that as well. And as the book goes on, we find that it's all wrapped up in Harry's similarities to Voldemort, how he thinks that they are alike. What does that mean for him? Like, is he a good guy or not? He's discovering who he is. basically. So I wanted to start off by saying that that was my favorite part of this book. So all of these other things I'm going to be discussing kind of fall into that category, as in supporting that. So here are some of my favorite parts of the book, things that we find out that are established in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. First, we have Harry's struggle with Slytherin. Now, like I've mentioned in articles and videos before, I don't really blame Harry for the way he thinks about Slytherin. And I'll tell you why. It's a couple of reasons. So before you Slytherins get mad, just hear me out, okay? First, Harry is 12 years old. I feel like that needs to be said. And you know, when Slytherin is first introduced to him, the House of Slytherin, it's in relationship to Voldemort. You know, Hagrid says there isn't a witch or wizard that went bad that wasn't in Slytherin. I think it's Hagrid that says that anyway. The movies confuse me, the way they mix up information. But yeah, Harry starts off with a terrible view of Slytherin, so of course this follows him as a kid, as he's growing at Hogwarts. But then we find out it's much bigger than that. Like, not only does Harry think that Slytherin just turns out bad witches and wizards, but it's where Voldemort came from, the man who killed his parents, who tried to kill him. So Harry negatively associates Slytherin with Voldemort just because of what he's been through and the way that Voldemort has impacted his life and his interactions with the wizarding world. So when Harry is scared about being in Slytherin, it's not just some trivial, I'm not in the house I belong in. It's in the early stages of identifying himself with Voldemort and what that means for him. One of my other favorite parts of the book is when Harry meets young Tom Riddle. I've made a video on this before, so I won't linger on this too long. You guys know how much I liked that part. But I just think it's very masterful to have our protagonist identify with the antagonist the first time that he ever meets him. Like, he doesn't know that Tom Riddle is Voldemort, of course. So when he's interacting with that memory, he instinctively trusts Riddle based on what he hears him say to Armando Dippet, the situation he finds himself in, his love for Hogwarts and how it's his home. He has grown up in an orphanage and he doesn't have family outside of this school, and that's something that Harry can really, really relate to. And, you know, he feels bad for Riddle in that. Then we see that he's also able to identify the similarities between he and Voldemort firsthand later on when he realizes that Tom Riddle is Voldemort, that he has been sympathizing and relating to this person who, you know, he wants to be completely separate from, and he never would have expected that. Next, we have Harry learning about his Parcel Tongue ability, and I think that the scene where Parcel Tongue is revealed is just very interesting, intriguing. It's tense because, like Harry, we don't really realize what's happening until after the fact. We think that Harry is just talking out loud to the snake, you know? And then after we meet up with Ron and Hermione later, we find out that he's actually been able to speak a different language this whole time. We saw him do it in the first book at the zoo, so it's shocking for us as readers as well as Harry. But then this Parcel Tongue gift, for lack of a better word, that Harry discovers about himself affects him in a couple of ways. First, it contributes to this internal struggle he's had about being in Slytherin or being like Voldemort, whatever you want to call it. It contributes to that problem that he's having, but it also separates him from the rest of the school, which is the only place that he's ever felt at home, which is really difficult to him as well. You know, he becomes the enemy to a lot of the school, to a lot of his classmates, and, you know, that makes up a lot of the plot of this book. You know, not only that the heir of Slytherin is attacking, but that the school believes that Harry himself could be the heir of Slytherin, and Parcel Tongue is a big reason behind that. So yes, those three things, Harry's struggle with Slytherin, meeting Tom Riddle, discovering Parcel Tongue, all of these are just masterfully woven together to make up the struggle that Harry faces throughout this book, where he's trying to figure out who he is, what is this position that he's been thrust into, is he a good person, what makes you a good person? And, you know, I talked the other week about Dumbledore's quote, "It is our choices that make us who we truly are, far more than our abilities." And I probably messed that up, but you know what I'm talking about. That quote is the perfect end to this book because it's, you know, the problem that Harry's been wrestling with this whole time. Does he make himself a good person? Is it just the position that he's in? Does he have any choice in the actions that he's making and the place that he's in? It's just, this 12-year-old is dealing with a lot of stuff. And as you will see as we go throughout this whole book series, I love when characters go through forging moments like this. I love seeing them go through hard times, which sounds terrible, but that just really reveals the type of characters that they are. So last, I did want to say another thing that I like about this book is the introduction of our first Horcrux, which at the time, this isn't something that we realize is going to be coming back later. Not nearly as important as it's going to be, but yeah, here we do get introduced to the diary, and it does mark the beginning of Dumbledore's journey into figuring out what Voldemort's master plan is and where he is, what he's been doing, and how he has been able to cling to life. So while this book may still technically be at the bottom of my list as far as my favorite books, I definitely appreciated what it brought to the table way more this time around. And I especially love diving into Harry's experiences with the difficulties that he went through this year. That was fun. So yeah, I liked it. And not only did we get to see a Horcrux in action, but we got to see the development of our main character, as well as something that he's going to struggle with for the rest of the book series. So yeah, with Sorcerer's Stone, I felt similar to what I had in the past. Like, I've always loved the first book, but this one, there was a pretty big shift. That is all I'm gonna say about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Next, we're going to have beginning of The Prisoner of Azkaban coming very soon, and like I mentioned, keep an eye out for my ranking list of my favorite Harry Potter books. Like I said, I'm a little sad about doing it, but I feel that it's necessary. It needs to be put out there so that we can talk about if my opinion changes, especially as we get to certain books, because obviously, like, this one is a good example of where my feelings changed for it just a bit. So yes, that will be coming out as well. And Chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Thank you all for sticking with me through this and reading through the Harry Potter books again. I'm having an excellent time, and I hope you are too. There's more fun things on the way, so I will see you again soon. Bye.